The first person who ruined my wedding was my mother. Not a stranger, not an ex, not some jealous guest. My own mother. She stood in the middle of the small garden venue I had rented with my own savings, looked around at the string lights, white chairs, and handmade flower arrangements, then laughed softly. "This is what you call a wedding?" Her words landed harder than thunder. I had spent 8 months planning every detail with care because I couldn't afford luxury. I worked double shifts at the clinic, skipped vacations, sold old jewelry, and learned to make decorations myself late at night. It wasn't grand, but it was honest, and it was mine. My fiancé, Ethan, squeezed my hand beside me, but I felt my chest tightening. I knew that tone. I'd known it my whole life. The tone that said, "You are not enough." My father walked in behind her, adjusting his expensive watch. "I told you she'd do something dramatic. Trying to look classy on a budget never ends well." They both laughed. I smiled tightly, because children of critical parents learn early how to hide pain in public. Growing up, my parents cared deeply about appearances. Perfect home, perfect friends, perfect holiday photos. They loved success when it could be displayed. But love offered quietly, imperfectly, without status, that they never understood. When I told them I was marrying Ethan, a school teacher with kindness instead of wealth, they acted as if I had announced a crime. "You could do better," my mother said. "Better?" I asked. "More established," she replied. "Meaning richer. Meaning someone they could brag about." Still, I invited them because some part of me remained hopeful. Some daughters keep hoping long after reason gives up. That morning, while vendors set tables and music softly played, my mother circled the venue like an inspector searching for flaws. "These flowers look cheap. The chairs don't match. Why is lunch buffet style?" Then she lowered her voice and delivered the deepest cut. "This wedding is embarrassing. If people ask, I may say I arrived late and missed most of it." I looked at her, stunned. My father added, "Honestly, canceling now would save everyone discomfort." Something inside me went quiet. Not broken, quiet. Because there comes a moment when pain stops begging for approval. I turned and walked away before tears could rise. Ethan found me near the back gate. "Talk to me," he said gently. I whispered, "Maybe they're right." He lifted my chin. "No," he said, "they're loud. That's different." I almost laughed through tears. But what my parents didn't know that day was that they were about to witness something they never valued. Not money, not status, not perfection. Real respect. And by the end of that wedding, the embarrassment would belong to someone else. The ceremony began at 4. Golden sunlight touched the garden trees, guests filled the chairs, my friends smiled warmly. Ethan waited under the arch, nervous and handsome in a navy suit. I should have felt only joy. Instead, I kept glancing toward my parents. My mother sat stiffly in the front row, expression sharp as glass. My father checked his phone twice before I even reached the aisle. Still, I walked forward. Each step felt like choosing myself. When I reached Ethan, he whispered, "You look incredible." 3 simple words, more support than I had received from my parents in months. We exchanged vows we had written ourselves. No dramatic promises, no grand performance, just truth. "I choose you in ordinary days," Ethan said. "I choose you when life is heavy," I replied. Many guests cried. My mother rolled her eyes. At the reception, things became worse. She complained loudly about the food portions. My father asked a guest what brand of wine was served, then smirked when he heard the answer. I watched people grow uncomfortable around them. Then came the speeches. My maid of honor spoke beautifully. Ethan's brother told a funny childhood story. Laughter returned to the room. Then my father stood unexpectedly and tapped his glass. My stomach dropped. "No microphone," I whispered to the coordinator. Too late. He took it. "I'll be brief," he said. "Parenting is difficult. Sometimes children make choices you wouldn't recommend." Guests shifted awkwardly. He smiled in that polished, cruel way I knew too well. But I suppose every family deserves one rebellious chapter. A few nervous chuckles. My face burned. Then my mother stood beside him. "We only wanted more for her," she added, "but at least she seems happy enough." Happy enough. The room went silent. I stared at my plate, hands trembling. All my life, they had measured me publicly and found me lacking. Even now, even here. Ethan slowly rose from his chair. I touched his wrist. "Don't," I said. But he looked at me with calm certainty. Then he walked to the microphone. My heart pounded. He thanked my father and mother politely. Then he said, "I'd like to correct one thing." Every eye turned. "This wedding is not embarrassing." His voice remained warm, steady. "It was built by a woman who worked harder than anyone I know. She paid for it herself, designed it herself, helped half the guests here through difficult times without asking for credit." My throat tightened. He looked at my parents. "If simplicity embarrasses you, that says nothing about her." No one moved. Then Ethan added softly, "You wanted more for her. I do too. More peace, more kindness, more distance from people who confuse criticism with love." A few guests gasped. My mother's face froze. My father reached for the mic, but Ethan stepped back and handed it to the DJ. Music started instantly. And something unexpected happened. People stood up. They applauded. Not wildly, not theatrically, but firmly, for me, until everything changed. Because for the first time in my life, my parents were not the loudest people in the room. Truth was. My mother left the reception 20 minutes later. My father followed after arguing with two relatives who told him he had gone too far. Neither said goodbye. Neither apologized. And for once, their exit did not wound me. It relieved me. The rest of the night became beautiful. I danced barefoot on the grass. My friends laughed until midnight. Ethan's grandmother hugged me and whispered, "Welcome to a kinder family." I cried then, not from sadness, from the strange feeling of being cherished without conditions. Weeks passed. My parents expected me to call first, as always. I didn't. Then came the messages. "Your father was joking. You embarrassed us by staying silent. Families fight. Move on." No apology, only blame wrapped in tradition. I answered once. "I am moving on. That's why I'm not returning to old patterns." Then I muted them. Distance can sound like silence, but sometimes it is healing. Months later, Ethan and I bought a small starter home. Nothing flashy, white walls, creaky floors, too little closet space. Perfect. We painted it together on weekends, burned dinner twice, laughed often. One afternoon, there was a knock at the door. My mother stood outside holding a gift basket she clearly didn't choose herself. "I thought we should talk," she said stiffly. I invited her in. She looked around our modest living room. No designer furniture, no grand staircase, no status symbols. Just warmth. Photos, plants, peace. "You seem happy," she said quietly. "I am." She hesitated. "I may have been harsh." May have. Some people apologize like they're negotiating. I smiled gently. "You were cruel." She looked down. For the first time, I saw something unfamiliar in her. Not pride, regret. She asked if we could start over. I told her the truth. We can start differently, but not where we left off. Boundaries are not revenge. They are self-respect with locks on the doors. Our relationship slowly changed after that. Careful, limited, realer than before.
My father took longer. Pride often ages badly. As for the wedding they called embarrassing, guests still tell me it was one of the most heartfelt celebrations they had ever attended, because elegance is not measured by price tags. It is measured by love freely given. And I learned something powerful that day. People who shame your joy often cannot create their own. Let them keep their standards. Keep your peace. My parents arrived expecting to judge me. They left shocked by something they never taught me: how to value myself without their permission.